So picture this. You're 19. Your dorm room smells like old ramen and stale air, and your roommate's dead asleep. It's 2 in the morning, and you can't sleep either because you're wired, scrolling through your phone. And there's this guy on your screen who just pulled $1,000 out of the market in one afternoon. He's leaning on a sports car, grinning like he's got the whole world figured out. And you want that. You want it so bad, it actually aches. So you crack open your laptop and download a trading app. You type in your name, your social security number, link up the checking account your grandma opened for you back in middle school. And then you drop in $400, pretty much your entire net worth. Your fingers are actually trembling, and you can't even explain why. The next morning, you buy your first stock, some random ticker you saw floating around on a forum, 3 shares. And then you just watch. The number goes up, the number goes down. Green, red, green. By noon, you're up $11 and you feel unstoppable. By dinner, you're down 6 and you feel like a complete idiot. You dump the position because the anxiety is unbearable. And there it is, lesson 1. The market does not care how you feel. Pretty soon, classes start losing to screens. You're picking up a whole new vocabulary: support, resistance, candlesticks, volume. And you start to realize a chart isn't just a bunch of lines. It's fear and greed, drawn out in real time. You open up a paper trading account, start playing with fake money, and you start winning. And it feels like proof, like you've actually cracked it. So naturally, you throw in another 200 real dollars. You start skipping your morning lecture just to catch the opening bell. 9:30 hits, and the market just detonates. Everything's moving at once. You buy, you sell, you buy again. By Friday, that $600 has turned into 800, and you're convinced, completely convinced, that you found the code. You haven't. You just got lucky. And at this stage, nobody, not even you, can tell the difference between skill and luck. That's the trap. And that's exactly what makes this whole thing so dangerous, right out of the gate. Then sophomore year, the luck runs out. One afternoon just wipes your entire account. Some stock everyone online swore was headed to the moon goes the exact opposite direction. $800 turns into 90 in under 2 hours. You just sit there, frozen, staring at the number, and you skip dinner. Part of you wants to walk away for good. You almost do. But instead, you go back to the videos, different ones this time. Not the sports car guys, the boring ones, the ones about risk and position sizing. And it turns out the traders who actually last aren't the ones who win huge. They're the ones who lose small. Keeping your capital alive matters a lot more than growing it fast. So you start a spreadsheet. Every trade gets logged. Entry, exit, your reasoning, the outcome. And patterns start showing up that you really didn't want to see. You cut winners too soon. You hang on to losers way too long. Your worst trades, they all happen when you're angry. Turns out the market was never really the opponent. You were. You write yourself some rules on a sticky note and slap it under your monitor. Never risk more than 1% per trade. Never revenge trade after a loss. And at first, you break both of them, constantly. Then, slowly, less often. A part-time job at the library helps you start rebuilding the account. 500, then 1,000, then 2. You stop swinging for home runs. Small, boring, risk-controlled trades become your entire strategy. 1% per position, no exceptions. Your wins start edging out your losses by just a hair, and slowly, painfully, the account starts to climb. Your friends think you're throwing your life away. Your parents just want you focused on your degree. And your dad flat out calls it gambling, right to your face. You don't even fight him on it. You just keep showing up. By graduation, you've got 11 grand. Not life-changing money, but it's evidence. Evidence that you can actually do this, that the whole thing isn't just a scam dressed up as a dream. So you skip the job offers everyone expected you to take. You're doing this full time now. Your dad doesn't call you for a month. But $11,000 isn't going to pay the bills long term. You run the numbers one night, and it's sobering. To clear 50 grand a year trading your own money, you'd need returns almost nobody hits consistently. You'd need more capital than you or your family will ever have lying around. So you find a side door, a prop firm. They'll let you trade with their capital, but first you have to prove you're not going to torch it. You pay an evaluation fee, get handed a simulated account seated with $50,000 per $10, and you're told to hit a profit target without breaking their risk rules. Stay under the daily loss cap, stay under the max drawdown, hit the number. Pass, and they fund you for real and let you keep the bulk of whatever you make. First attempt, you fail. Day 3, you get emotional after a red trade, double your size trying to claw it back, and blow straight through the daily limit. Reset to zero, pay the fee again, fail again. Third run, something finally clicks. You stop chasing a jackpot and start following a checklist. This becomes a job now, not a scratch ticket. Small trades, and you walk away the second you feel your temper spike. 6 weeks later, you clear the target. An email lands in your inbox. You're funded. 100 grand of someone else's capital, yours to trade. It feels like you've made it. You haven't. You've just gotten past the first real gatekeeper. Now you're trading out of a cramped apartment, up before the open, reading the news, watching the pre-market movers, sketching out a watch list before the bell even rings. Discipline, it turns out, is the entire game. 1 month you clear 4 grand and keep most of it. The next month you barely break even. The month after that, you lose. Your income is a roller coaster, and the stress never fully switches off. Some mornings your hand actually freezes on the mouse because you're terrified of giving back last week's gains. Other mornings, you overtrade out of pure boredom and hand it all right back. The charts, it turns out, were the easy part. Your own head, that's the real battlefield. But still, you're doing it. 25 years old, making a living off a screen in your bedroom. And at a friend's wedding, you meet a woman named Jenna. She asks what you do. Trader, you say, and she's impressed. You leave out the losing months. You leave out the sleepless nights. 2 quiet years go by. You're not rich, but you're not sinking either. You've got several funded accounts running across different firms now, nearly $500,000 in combined buying power. Diversify the risk, never lean on a single income stream. That's the lesson. You can finally afford your own place, and you stop flinching at the grocery total. This isn't a side hustle anymore. It's your career now. Minus the boss, minus the office, minus the coworkers. Your job is a desk, 3 monitors, and a chair that's basically molded to your body at this point. 10 hours a day in that seat. And it's lonelier than any of those videos ever warned you it would be. Up at 6, build the watch list, trade the open, sit through the midday chop, or just sit on your hands entirely, trade the close, then review every trade, journal it, study, sleep, repeat. There's no real weekend in your head anymore. The market's always waiting on Monday. You start seeing your friends less. Their schedules are normal. Yours isn't. They don't get why you can't just take a random Tuesday off. Technically, you could. You just never do. Every day you're not trading is a day you're not earning. So you watch old classmates post vacation photos and wedding pics while you're glued to a bleeding ticker. Your back's stiff. Your eyes are dry from the screens. You eat standing up so you don't miss a setup. You tell yourself this is just what freedom costs. And some days, you almost believe it. You marry Jenna that spring. Small ceremony, small budget. Your dad shows up. He still doesn't fully get the job, but he sees the apartment, the car, the way you carry yourself now. And at the reception, he shakes your hand and tells you he's proud of you. First time he's ever said those words out loud. You hold on to them. Jenna moves in. She learns to go quiet during market hours, learns to read your mood off your face the second the closing bell rings. Green days, you're relaxed. Red days, you're somewhere else entirely. You promise her the red days will thin out. You're not totally sure that's a promise you can actually keep. One day, a stranger messages you online. Turns out he runs an actual proprietary trading firm out of Chicago. Not some remote evaluation mill, a real trading floor with real seats. He's seen your track record, and he wants to bring you in. The offer is different from anything you've done before. Serious firm capital, potentially millions if you earn it, a bigger cut taken off the top. But in exchange, you get real infrastructure. Faster execution than you've ever had access to, better data feeds, other traders to learn from, face-to-face, a risk manager watching the desk. So you and Jenna pack up and move to Chicago. She lands a job at a marketing firm downtown. You walk onto the floor on day 1 and instantly feel like a beginner again. 20 traders lined up along a long row of desks, keyboards clacking, the occasional shout, screens glowing in every direction. The energy is electric and completely unforgiving. These guys are sharper than you, faster than you, with years on you. You're humbled almost immediately, making rookie mistakes the veterans stopped making a long time ago. The senior trader beside you, a guy named Marcus, watches you blow a dumb trade, and he doesn't even raise his voice. He just tells you to cut your size down until you stop trading like an idiot. You listen. You size down. 3 months on that floor teach you more than 3 years alone ever did. You watch how the veterans handle a bad day. No panic, no chasing. They just close the laptop, go home, and come back clean the next morning. Calm, you start to realize, isn't a personality trait. It's a skill, just like any other, one you build. Eventually, you find your edge, a setup you trade better than almost anyone on the floor. You catch an earnings move that nets the firm 40 grand in 20 minutes flat. Marcus just nods at you from across the row, and somehow that nod means more than the money does. Your book grows. They start trusting you with more capital. And by year 2, you're one of the top performers on the entire desk. You're 32 now. One evening, Jenna tells you she's pregnant. You stand there staring at the test on the bathroom counter, and for the first time in your life, the numbers on your screen shrink down into nothing. Your son is born that October, you name him after your father, and holding him in the hospital, something in your chest just breaks wide open. You're back at the desk 3 days later. The market doesn't exactly do paternity leave, but something in you has shifted for good. You're not just trading for yourself anymore. Every single dollar carries new weight now. You start taking fewer wild risks. You become the most consistent version of yourself yet. And consistency is exactly what gets rewarded. The firm bumps you up to senior trader, hands you a bigger book than most of the floor, and assigns junior traders under you. Young, hungry, terrified, and absolutely convinced they've already got it all figured out. You see your younger self in every single one of them. You become their Marcus now. You teach them to size down. You teach them the real enemy is always the guy in the mirror. You teach them that surviving long enough to actually get good, that's the whole goal. And then you watch one of your juniors break the exact rule you broke at his age, doubling down on a loser trying to get even, and torch half his account in a single afternoon. You sit with him the way Marcus once sat with you. You tell him it's not over. You tell him the traders who last are the ones who keep their losses small. Some of them absorb it. Some blow up and just disappear. The washout rate at this level is brutal. Most people at a trading desk don't even make it a full year. You're managing your own book and your junior's risk at the same time now, sitting in capital allocation meetings, arguing for more firepower behind setups you believe in. And you learn fast that being right isn't enough. You also have to convince the people controlling the money. You've stopped being just a trader. You're managing traders now. You're pulling in more money than you ever imagined back in that dorm room. You buy a house out in the suburbs. Jenna decorates a nursery, and your son learns to walk in a living room your screens paid for. But you're working harder than ever. You miss his first steps because you're glued to the closing bell. Jenna films it on her phone, and you watch the clip alone in your office after the market shuts down. You tear up a little. You don't tell anyone. You promise yourself you'll leave earlier tomorrow. You don't. The market's open, and your son's already asleep by the time you walk in the door. So you stand over his crib in the dark, just watching him breathe, the only quiet moment your mind gets all day. 15 years in, and you want something with your name on it. You've built a real reputation, a verified track record, relationships with people who have capital and want returns. So you do the scariest thing you've ever done. You walk away from the firm and launch your own fund. A small hedge fund, your name right there on the letterhead. You raise money from old colleagues, wealthy contacts. A family office that's been watching your numbers for years cuts the biggest check of the round. All told, you pull in $12 million. Small by industry standards, sure, but to you, it feels like carrying a mountain. And everything changes once the money isn't yours anymore. Losing firm capital used to just sting your bonus. Now a bad day means calling an investor to explain why his retirement account just shrank. The pressure lives in your stomach now, every single morning. You hire 2 analysts and a junior trader, rent a small city office, and basically become half businessman, half trader. Mornings are for the market. Afternoons are for meetings. You raise more capital, write quarterly letters, try to explain your strategy to people who mostly just want the bottom line number to stay green. Running a fund, you learn, is mostly about managing fear. Your investors' fear when things drop, your team's fear when a position turns, and your own fear at 3 in the morning when sleep just won't come. You're the calm one now, by necessity. Nobody's above you telling you to size down anymore. Marcus is just a name in your contacts you never actually call. You have a few genuinely great years. One stretch, you return 18%, and investors are thrilled. Money starts pouring in faster than you can deploy it. The fund grows to 40 million, then 60. You hire more staff, move into a bigger office downtown. You're 42 now, managing other people's life savings. Your son is 10, and he tells his friends his dad works with money. He doesn't really know what that means, and honestly, you're not sure you could explain it cleanly either. You promise yourself you'll be home for dinner more. You make that promise every single year. You break it every single year. The market's a jealous thing. It wants all of you, and usually it gets it. Then your fund survives the thing that kills most funds, a real crash. The market craters 30% in a matter of weeks. Panic everywhere. Investors calling, screaming, demanding withdrawals. Funds that had run for decades simply vanish overnight. Yours doesn't. You'd hedged carefully, remembering the very first lesson from that dorm room all those years ago. Protect the capital before you ever try to grow it. You lose far less than the broader market does. When things finally settle, new investors flood in, and the fund triples in size within a single year. You're managing hundreds of millions now. You're not really a day trader anymore. You think in weeks and months now instead of minutes. Positions get built over days, not seconds. And at this size, you move markets just by showing up. Buy big and the price rises, simply because you're the one buying. So you have to move quietly, breaking orders into pieces so other funds don't catch on. You've got a real team now, 20 people, analysts researching companies for weeks at a stretch, traders executing your calls, risk managers flagging you when you're overexposed, compliance keeping you out of legal trouble. You're sitting atop a small institution now, and it's wearing your name. You're 48 now, going gray at the temples, your back permanently stiff from decades in a chair. Your doctor's worried about your blood pressure. Jenna worries about you constantly. Your son's 16 now, and he barely talks to you. And you realize you've spent his entire childhood staring at screens, and you have no idea how to get any of that time back. You're honestly not sure you ever can. Your name carries real weight now, on Wall Street, in the financial press, in rooms where billions change hands. Your fund manages over $2 billion. Other managers watch your every move closely. Word gets out you're buying something, and everyone else piles in right behind you. Word gets out you're selling, and people rush for the exits. You've become a force inside the market itself, a weather system that other traders try to forecast. Money stopped feeling real years ago. You don't even think in dollars anymore. You think in basis points and exposure. A bad day now costs more than your father made in his entire lifetime, and it barely even registers. You've made so much that more money doesn't really change anything tangible anymore. What you're actually chasing at this point isn't wealth, it's the score. You're still waking up at 4 in the morning out of pure habit, scanning overnight action in Asia and Europe before the sun even comes up. You've built a machine that prints money, and machines need feeding. You hire the sharpest people you can find and pay them handsomely. Some of them try to lift your strategies and go start their own shops. A few actually succeed. And you feel something like pride and something like betrayal all at the same time. You lose $90 million in a single morning on a trade you were completely sure of. You don't flinch in the meeting. You flinch later, alone, where nobody's watching. You testify in front of regulators occasionally now. Sit in rooms with the people who actually run the financial system. You get invited to speak at conferences where young traders look at you the exact same way you once looked at that sports car guy. You tell them the truth, that this costs far more than they realize, and most of them don't hear a single word of it. What they don't see is the divorce papers that nearly got filed, the worst year when Jenna almost walked, the medication you need now just to fall asleep, the son in college who calls his mother, but never calls you. You're 62 now, over 4 decades of staring at screens. You finally step back from the daily grind, though you never fully leave it behind. Trading gets handed off to younger hands, and you become something else. Chairman, figurehead, a name new traders study the way you once studied charts at 2 in the morning. Your fund manages tens of billions now, and it runs almost entirely without you. And that, in its own way, is its own quiet grief. You have everything money can buy, and a hollow space where the fight used to live. The screens were never really about the money. They were about being fully alive at the edge of a decision. And that feeling gets harder and harder to find. You sit in a gorgeous office with a view you never actually look at. For 40 years, the only view that ever mattered was a chart. Your hands, once shaking over a $400 deposit, are steady now and old. Jenna stayed. The marriage survived, scarred but standing, because she outlasted the market. She was more patient with you than you probably ever deserved. Your son's grown now, with a family of his own. He didn't go into trading, chose something quieter, on purpose. And even though you understand exactly why, it still stings a little. He brings the grandkids over on holidays. You hold your grandson, and that same old crack opens up in your chest, identical to the day your son was born. Your father's gone now, past years back, proud, finally, in a way he could actually say out loud. You think about him often, in the quiet hours. You think about the guy in the sports car from that very first video, all those years ago. And you figure he was probably broke, probably selling a fantasy he never actually lived himself. You think about all the traders you watched flame out over the decades, and you wonder why you made it when so many of them didn't. There's no clean answer. Discipline, maybe. Luck, maybe. Probably some stubbornness that looked like strength from the outside and felt like something closer to a disease from the inside. In the quiet hours, you wonder what it all actually added up to. You built fortunes, moved markets that moved the whole world, built something that'll outlast you completely. But you missed the first steps, the school plays, the ordinary Tuesdays. You could have taken any one of those Tuesdays off. You never did. And no amount of capital buys them back now. That's the trade nobody warns you about when you're just starting out. And right now, somewhere, a 19-year-old is sitting in a dorm room at 2 in the morning, watching some guy who made $1,000 in one afternoon. $400 in his checking account. His hands are shaking, and he doesn't know why.